Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We welcome you here to the fourth race of the season for the G-Force Grand National Series as we're here at the world's fastest half mile. This is Bristol Motor Speedway for the Sports Shift Media Thanksgiving Bash. We already have qualifying underway. We've had Dallas Myhand out on track, laying down a 15.394. A lot of drivers in the field tonight. I'm Seth Cole alongside Samuel Dyer. And Sam, we saw the Vintage Clothing 87 series here back in the day at Bristol Motor Speedway, and that was a crazy race. What can we expect to see here tonight with these ARCA cars?
It's going to be a lot of drivers trying to search and be on that high line. The high line looks to be the quickest part of this track, but even though it's the quickest part, you got to figure out how to make a pass. We're going to be seeing some drivers trying that inside groove, but it's going to be pretty difficult for a lot of these drivers as road is right now, drivers getting on the track. Looks like we're about to be seeing the 83 of Kevin Roth going to be getting on track here shortly.
Pulls up there to the end of pit road. Rough in the Jeff Gordon DuPont colors. Very familiar Rainbow Warrior scheme, except that's actually the Flames back that he drove around the midway point of the 2000s. Mentioned Dallas Myhand as the only driver that's been out on track so far, so going to be a long one here for these drivers as we've got somewhere in the range of about 27, 28 drivers, I think, that are ready to take the green here this evening. A big field at Bristol.
And coming across the line here, we're waiting to see as Ruff's pit box was further back, so he's now going to be putting a lap time here across the line. It's going to be a 15.192, besting Dallas Myhand and almost besting Ruff's lap that he put down. These drivers are going to be really quick here today. Right now, what's interesting to see, and I'm going to keep my eye out on for, is the track temp. Starting out with Dallas Myhand, track temp 92 degrees, and it's still staying that way as another driver getting on track.
That's going to be Anthony Guenery, 11th in the points coming into tonight's event. And it's interesting too that for all of these drivers, the ones that have made all four starts, this is their third trip to a short track this season. We had Nashville to open up the year. They then went to Charlotte. Last week was another short track in Richmond as Guenery slideways there out of turn 4, and now they're here tonight at Bristol.
Yeah, Guenery, that is not the way that you want to come across the line, and a 17.2. Very off the mark, but looking like that possibly is going to be putting Guenery on the backside of this field unless we see someone else making an accident, as the 19 car not going to be on track. That's going to be Randy Kokine starting his qualifying time.
18th in points as he pulled way down there into turn 1. I almost wondered if he was trying to abort his lap time or whatnot, but going to be a very slow lap time for Randy Kokine, who struggled last week in qualifying at Richmond, as I recall, as well.
Yeah, qualifying issues for the 19 machine, just going to pull off and going to stick with that for that very odd lap time there. So that was him sitting on pit road. As getting back on track is now going to be the 07 of Seth Harrelson.
Yeah, Seth Harrelson comes into this one currently situated in the 24th position in the standings. Harrelson, we saw him be quite a mainstay up inside the top 10 during the Vintage Clothing 87 series, but he's really struggled, it seems, a bit here in the Grand National Series.
Yeah, he missed out on last week, I believe, and now Seth Harrelson going to be trying to put a better lap time down than everyone else, and will do so. First car in the 14s with a 14.982. And, that's actually a pretty decent time compared to what the field is going to be running. It's just going to get quicker and quicker as these qualifying laps go down. But Seth Harrelson, expecting him to be someone to try to go for a top 15, top 10 finish here today.
Getting to see who's going to be the next one out on track. And, of course, these drivers here now, starting from Bristol on, racing for the pole position, sponsored by the Dirty Racing Podcast. So, you can check them out at Dirty Racing Cast on Twitter. So pretty cool. These drivers now have some sponsorship for the pole position, as here comes Jonathan Leach. Now he's making his debut here in G-Force, but Sam, we're no stranger to this driver.
Yeah, Jonathan Leach has been seen on FRN during the Chris Cup days when we were broadcasting that league, and Leach was someone that was very quick during the Chris Cup And so we're excited to see how he's going to be interacting here in the G-Force ARCA series. As that 48 machine coming in through 3 and 4, looking pretty quick. Could be besting Harleson's time across the line. Won't do so. Actually kind of off the pace with a 15.366.
Yeah, and I'm looking right now, and it's actually not scoring him. I was wondering, because off of turn 2, he did brush the wall, and remembering back to Nashville, if you had any contact with the wall at all, your lap time was not counted. I think that was the case right there for the 48.
And now we're going to be seeing the 57 on track as we're going to be getting ready here. Yeah, no, it's going to be interesting to see how these drivers react here, because the wall is going to be so deceptive during the race. That's something we're going to be seeing a lot of. His car's brushing the outside wall, and here during qualifying, cannot touch it. Coming out of 4, though, this 57 machine with a 15.073.
You know, and normally at any track, people would think, well, why aren't they running the bottom? Isn't that the shorter way around the racetrack? Now, while it is the shorter way, it's not exactly the faster way. Bristol, that higher groove is really going to be the place you'll see most drivers during race conditions migrating up to. And there's such a fine line there, too, as we're talking about here in qualifying, but also in the race. You run up there as high as you possibly can, but you don't want to go too high and get into that outside wall.
Yeah, you don't want to get into the outside wall. No fast repairs. Nick Radar now going to be starting his qualifying time. More information on the Dirty Racing podcast. They're going to be starting uploading episodes with the new year coming around. So be excited for them to be coming out. As excited to see his radar goes around, looping it almost exactly like we saw there for Guenery, and coming across the line, similar time for Radar.
It's going to be a 17.263 for Radar, and that's about 5/100 slower than Guenery. So both those drivers, really, that slide off of turn 4, very detrimental to their lap times. And they're going to be starting towards the back of the pack. And I have the feeling if there's one particular track you don't want to be starting towards the rear of the field at, it would be Bristol Motor Speedway.
Yeah, Bristol is not where you want to be starting in the back at all. We've kind of been looking at this track as Ernest King now going to be starting his lap time for that 24 machine. But Bristol's looking to be a kind of a scary track for these drivers. We saw Richmond last week, a long green flag run. We're concerned that we might not see really 15 lap screen that's coming across the line. Ernest King, a 15.106.
Right now, that will slot him third on the scoring pylon. King coming into this race 14th in the standings. Waiting to see who the next driver is that's going to be going out there. Of course, last week, we saw Blaine Atkin pick up his first win of the season at Richmond. The point stands are still quite close, especially amongst the top 3 or 4. Gerald Campbell is the points leader. He's got a 30-point gap back to John Whitendorf, and then it's another 9 points back to Blaine Atkins. So, you know, there's still less than 40 points separating the top 3, and based off the point standing system that they have, something like that could easily even be made up in one race.
Yeah, it really could. Is Jason Hounshell now on track? Got to be coming through 3 and 4 for his lap time. But yeah, no, it's the points are just going to get more and more interesting to see as Jason Hounshell second on the board after that lap time, pushing the rest of the field down. But Seth Harlson still with the only driver in the 14s, top of the board. It's one of those things of wins are going to be so important. Campbell's been running up front, showing that he's got pace, but Atkin really, that first race at Nashville, his possibility of being a 2-time winner after him spinning, coming to the white flag, that cost them so much on points wise. He's kind of trying to dig himself out of that hole that he was put in after that first race.
Absolutely. We're trying to focus the camera here on Kyle Johnson, the 88. He's obviously having some connection issues on his end. Kyle Johnson was a guy that we were really impressed with last week, qualified at the rear of the field. I don't think he even laid down a lap time at Richmond last week. And then, lo and behold, we saw him, 30 laps later up inside of the top 10.
Yeah, and Kyle Johnson, due to his internet issues, iRacing isn't going to really be able to figure out his lap time. So Kyle Johnson's going to be placed back in 9th place for now. But due to internet issues, it's going to cost the 88 machine on a great podium, or at least a good position to start this race off. As driver going to be next to go out on track is going to be the 10 machine.
Going to be Peyton Hamlet. A lot of new names in the field here tonight. We saw a number of drivers making their G-Force debut last week at Richmond, but there's now another 6-7 drivers that we have not seen in the first 3 races of the year that are making their debuts here tonight at Bristol.
Yeah, I mean, Hamlet is someone that we're interested to see. We also have another name that's going to be last car to put a qualifying lap down is the 10 of Hamlet crossed the line at 15.098. Best is going to put him at 4th.
Now, obviously, there's no way with the number of drivers that are in the field and everybody going out based off of where they were in the practice session as far as speeds are concerned, there's no way to be able to strategize to put yourself in a good starting spot. But I would have to think that a lot of these drivers, they're hoping for the luck of the draw, that if they start up, inside the top 10, that they're going to be on that outside row.
We had Peyton Hamlet. Now it's time for Peyton Hill to come across the line and start this lap. The 84 car of Hill starting this time. More new faces and, interested to see how the 18 of Austin Edwards is going to go. Being the last car to come across the line and be the fastest during practice, and will be the last car to qualify here. Hill crossed the line of 15.477. That's going to be best 8th, and that's not looking good for where you're going to be starting during this race.
Yeah, right now for these drivers, when we talk about them being somewhere around 4th through 8th of the drivers that have gone out, right at this current point in time, since we know there are a lot of drivers out there that still have to go out that were up at the top of the board in practice. I mean, we're looking at some of these guys to be running back in the midway portion of the field when we eventually go green. Looking at the number 81 of Shane Lake. Shane coming into this race 27th in the standings, and the short tracks have not been kind to him so far this season.
Absolutely not. I think it's a lot of being caught up in wrecks around Lake and also just kind of being aggressive at times when you need to be a little bit more patient. It's the 81 car coming across the line of 15.324. Going to be putting him 7th on the board.
So Shane Lake in that AEW Chevrolet, clocking in currently 7th out of 13 drivers that have been scored. 14 drivers that have gone out there. Of course, Jonathan Leach getting into the wall on his lap time not counted. And here is the 4 of James Roth, who we saw en route to a good run last week at Richmond, but then in that final green-white checkered, he got spun the back straightaway. He did finish, I think it was 11th place on the lead lap, but he had a shot to finish inside the top 10.
Yeah, that's the thing that you kind of need for luck is Roth into the wall hard, and that's going to be just canceling out this lap. It should. As we say that, though, a 15.706, 12th on the board, not going to be registered as a time, and going to be back there with Kyle Johnson and Randy Kokine with non-times for those drivers that are looking. They're going to be starting in the back of the field. Kokine, due to being the first car to qualify, looking to be the last car to qualify. Last car on the field, excuse me.
It's almost looking very much so like what we had last week at Richmond, where there were those drivers that looked really steady, really stable, but there were those other drivers where the back end just looked like it wanted to come around on them. That was the case right there with James Roth. I mean, you just saw the front end wiggle, and you knew that there was no way he was going to gather that thing up, because running that outside line, the wall comes up on you quickly.
And Hank Steinmiller putting down his lap time, 6th on the board with a 15.145. Steinmiller is someone that I'm interested to see how he's going to evolve through this race. 150 laps for these drivers once we get to the featured race. And Steinmiller's kind of been known for not always having the best starts, but being there at the end.
Yeah, comes into this race 6th in the point standings after the first 3 races, and the guy just ahead of him in points out on track now, that is Jake Hounshell. Hounshell 5th in the standings coming into tonight's event, and of course we'll all remember last week at Richmond when Hounshell got into it with another driver and he just got up into the wall.
Might have scrubbed his lap time off of 15.136. But yeah, I don't think that's going to be a registered time, as Hounshell now going to be stuck in the back with a lot of other drivers, and we know the back half of this field is going to be so treacherous just because of all the traffic that's going to be there. And one mistake, you could be caught up in someone else's troubles if they spin out in front of you. As drivers now on track is going to be Bo Brady in that 20 machine starting his qualifying time.
Brady's 17th in the points coming into tonight. And going back to the case of Jay Counshell, I mean, just a matter of how one race can completely change the landscape of the standings. Last week, Counshell headed into that race as the points leader, comes into Bristol tonight 5th. And, you know, we're going to be finding that other driver that he got into it with at Richmond on track momentarily. It's back-to-back short track, Sam. I mean, do we see something carry over into tonight?
I don't know if it would carry over into tonight. Bo Brady going to be second on the board after that lap time of 15.027. Still only one car has gone and broken into the 14s. That's going to be Seth Harrelson, top of the board at the moment. Tyler Riggs, though, in the 26 machine, kind of been known to have a good qualifying run. We'll see if he can put another quick lap time here at Bristol.
Yeah, Tyler was having a great season, starting out in the first two races. Last week at Richmond, though, a bump in the road. Never really even got out of the blocks. He got early damage in that one. Comes into this race subsequently in the 12th position in points, and we'll see if he can put himself up on the front row. So far, he's there with a 15.018. Second is where he sits.
But there's still a lot of very quick cars. John Whitendorf now going to get on track. A little bit of a note, the 55 machine of AJ DiMarzio was not able to put a lap time down, but hopefully will be back for the race. So if we see DiMarzio back, we'll be qualified in last place for this race.
John Whitendorf second in points, as we said, 30 points back and looking for his first win of the season. Right now, he's the only driver inside the top three that does not have a crooked number in the win column, as he is top of the board, 14.939.
And I'm just expecting it to get faster and faster for these drivers. These are the drivers that have spent a lot of time during practice just figuring out that outside groove without hitting the wall, but being so close where you're right on razor's edge. Now we're going to be seeing the 8 machine on track.
Joseph Causey in the Bass Pro Shop Chevrolet, 10th in the points coming into tonight's event. I'm looking right now at the drivers that we have that still have to take time, drivers that have taken time, and there are a couple of drivers, looks like, that are inside the top 10.
Going around.
Does he hit anything? Oh,
yeah,
he is. Well, he missed the inside wall, but just too much momentum. Couldn't get on the brakes and gets the outside wall. So Causey is going to be at the back of the pack along with drivers like Jonathan Leach.
Yeah, it's one of those spin outs where you kind of want to slam it onto the throttle to make sure that the back end doesn't just drift in, but only so much you can do. Now we've got Jeff Green out on track in that number 2 machine.
I was going to bring up here as well. I mean, Christopher Morris Jr., 7th in the points coming into this race. The last couple of races, there's been an off-track admin. We'll wait and see if he's actually going to be here tonight or not. But if he's not, then we've heard that Christopher Morris Jr. actually will not be participating in the race. Oh, and Green got the wall.
Yeah, Green not able to. Actually, no, I think that's going to count.
They scored it.
I think it might have been after he crossed the line, possibly. But Jeff Green gonna be top of the board now.
Wow. Maybe it wasn't enough contact to really qualify as contact. I mean, it looked like a slight brush, not nearly as significant as the brushes we've seen other drivers take. So right now, Jeff Green at P1, and here comes last week's winner, Blaine Atkin.
Blaine Atkin going to be trying to continue with this momentum. He was so fast at Richmond. Anyone could really just pull away and be so fast. No one really was able to touch this 05 machine. We'll see if Blaine can be on top of the board this time around.
And again, whoa, look at that. 14.906, 2 1,000s faster than Jeff Green. And again, we're seeing a lot of these drivers going through the corner loose. We saw a lot of drivers loose last week at Richmond. That's the kind of a setup, the kind of a track that Blaine Atkin thrives at.
Yeah, it really is. As on top of the board, Tom Bourne looks like he'll be the next car on track here.
Tom Bourne making his second start of the season. He ran 2 weeks ago at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Tom comes into this race 26th in the standings as a result. Oh, got a little too high up there in 1 and 2, and that's probably going to be a throwaway lap for the Pedigree Chevrolet.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to scrub it off again, and there is certain moments on track where you can hit the wall, and it will be very helpful for you, but too much into the wall, and it's going to be hurting Tom Bourne. Time is not going to count for that 54 machine.
And remember, so let's not forget that a lot of these drivers that we're seeing not get their lap times counted are drivers that were up inside of the top 10 as far as speeds are concerned in practice. Joseph Causey and Tom Bourne both were up inside the top 10 during the practice session.
Gerald Campbell looks to be coming around turn 3 and 4, starting his lap time.
Gerald Campbell, of course, a former winner this season back at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, comes into this race the points leader. Average finishing position in the first 3 races of 4th place. That's incredible numbers to start out the year, and he's going to clock in top of the board, 14.869.
First car to get a 14.8. We'll see if anyone else can get on top of that. But that is a screaming quick time for Gerald Campbell there. Now on track is going to be Austin Edwards in the 18 machine. And Edwards is someone that looks extremely quick, fastest car during practice. And we'll see if he can best the time Gerald Campbell just put down.
And putting down his first qualifying lap time of the season as he's making his debut here tonight at Bristol. We'll see if he's going to be able to challenge Campbell to take this pole position. Looked nice through 1 and 2. We'll see what he does here through 3 and 4. Drives it deep off of 4. We'll see if that gives him an advantage.
No.
Clocks in at 5th.
5th place, giving Gerald Campbell our Dirty Racing podcast pole position.
Campbell and Akin going to be the front row for tonight's event, 150 laps. Just to talk about that as well, 150 laps here tonight at Bristol Motor Speedway. We know that by the end of the night, there's probably going to be some tempers flaring, usually is when it comes to a short track. Not only that, Sam, but we've been told that these drivers, obviously no faster pairs, but only 2 sets of tires available to them here tonight. Not counting the ones they start on. I mean, just the fact that they run the top side here tonight, I have to assume that that's going to wear those tires down quite a bit. So I don't really know what these tires are going to feel like after 40, 50 laps.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot for these drivers to try to figure out these tires and how they're going to work with moving forward. But excited to see how these newcomers are going to go. We've seen throughout this season so far, it's already a short season, but when newcomers come in, the experience for some of these drivers have already been in this league, know how the tires are going to react at most of these tracks. They're able to really save their tires for the later runs compared to the new guys.
Now we're currently still in qualifying, still waiting. I think there's a couple things that we are waiting for. I think we're waiting to see if Christopher Morris Jr. is going to be able to put down a lap time. We're also waiting on a couple of drivers that didn't take time. You talked about AJ DeMarzo. Also, the 77 of Rocky Boyd has not taken time in the session either. So we can only assume, as you said, with AJ's case, that if Boyd doesn't get in and put down a lap time, he'd be starting the rear of the field as well. And looks like that's going to be it. Session has come to a close. The field is now set for tonight's 150 lapper.
Gerald Campbell getting that Dirty Racing podcast pole position. Now we're going to be having drivers waiting to see how this heat race is going to go. But there's not going to be much changing. The driver's going to be staying in the positions that they were in once they're gridded here for this heat race, or if they even take lap time here. But this is going to be 150 laps. It's going to be during the daytime. Hot track, very hot for these drivers. Looked at the time for the heat on the racing surface. It never changed. This was all based off the drivers getting more of the tires worn in and allowing these drivers to have a great run for themselves.
Well, as we're waiting to find out what's going to happen here in regards to this heat, we can only speculate what these drivers are going to experience out there. Let's get a word firsthand with one of the guys that's going to be out there here tonight for these 150 laps. He's the driver that comes into this race 4th in the point standings, and that is going to be our in-race reporter for the evening, Dallas Myhand. Hey, Dallas, it's Sam and Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios. You got us?
Yes, I do.
All right, man, it's Bristol. It's the world's fastest half mile. There's a whole gaggle of you out there here tonight battling out for 150 laps. You got yourself some pretty good qualifying effort here. Going to be starting up towards the front of the field. So what's the strategy to get yourself a little bit further up there ahead of all this traffic?
Just try to avoid the wrecks as much as possible, and try to be at the very end of the race and have a chance to win this race.
Now, obviously, you guys heading into a short track, much like last week at Richmond, with no fast repairs to be able to fall back on. So, my question is, how in the world do you make sure that you have that car survive for 150 laps at a track like this?
Just flip a coin, and if your luck is tails or is it heads, and that's your luck tonight, I think, because this is almost like a play race. This track is, and especially with almost 29 of us here. It's gonna be a little messy, or it can be really good. So it should be fun in this race.
Yeah, I mean, Dallas, it's going to be a wild for these drivers. And we know that you only have 2 sets of tires in pit road. And we're going to have a lot of cautions. You might find yourself in the back half of the field trying to get tires. How is it going to be trying to get through this traffic? Because it looks like it's going to be very treacherous for this race.
Yeah, I didn't do too many laps in practice because I came home late to do the qualifying. What drivers are telling me, the preferred line is the middle of the top line on their older tires, so it should be a little difficult to pass. As long as I can get my car up near the front late in the race or even middle of the race to save some tires, I feel like I have a good chance of at least getting a top 10 finish tonight. I don't really expect myself to get wins every week. As long as I get a decent points finish, it's how I keep close as with Gerald and Blaine. I'll take that. So we can move on to the next week.
Well, Dallas, we wish you luck here tonight. We'll be checking in with you momentarily throughout the race if we have some caution periods to be able to get an idea from you what it's like working through the traffic and everything. But best of luck here tonight. Hopefully you can maybe pick up a victory.
Thank you, guys.
And so as these guys are getting ready to head on out there for 150 laps here, Sam, I mean, again, we asked Dallas about not having a faster pair to fall back on. I got to cast my memory back again to the Vintage 87 series where we saw Christopher Morse Jr. at the time flip upside down. We thought his day was done. We thought it was over. Next thing you know, he actually was up there. Without the aid of a faster pair, he was up there in the second position. So, it goes back to that thing at short tracks where you don't have to have the prettiest car to be able to win the race. Do we see that here tonight with these ARCA machines?
I mean, with the ARCA cars, there's going to be, they're not as durable as the 87 machines are. Those things are built like a tank. But these cars can take quite a bit of a beating. The issue is if you're just grazing the wall, like you're driving up and you're hitting it, you can take that. But if you slide coming across the outside wall into the inside wall at a bad angle, you could find your race being done almost instantly. And that's the thing that these drivers are going to have to focus on, is how can you get through these corners and get off the track as clean as possible. We saw during qualifying some drivers getting loose in the center of the corners and also coming out of the corners. So those are the moments and those are the spots we really have to keep our eyes on for these drivers. And you always know, we're in a short track, the bump and run, always a focus to see.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we saw a lot of congested battles last week at Richmond, and that track is wider and longer than Bristol even is. We're taking the opportunity here. Obviously, as we said, there's a heat race going on right now. Rocky Boyd, AJ DeMarzo, and Jonathan Leach were all to take part to be able to determine who was going to be starting 26th, 27th, and 28th. Leach is the only one out there, and so we're taking the opportunity here to go inside the cockpit and watch the hands of the driver of the 48, and especially going out of the corner and onto the straightaway, Sam, I'm seeing a lot more counter steering than I am steering. You talked about the track conditions here for these drivers, how the temperature's not changing, but we're still seeing drivers having to deal with what seems like somewhat slick conditions off corner exit.
Yeah, right now Jonathan's dealing with a track that's 2 degrees cooler than it was during qualifying, but still the tires are going to get worn down more and more. I was listening to some of the drivers and the fact that they were talking about how the tires just drop off so much after 15 laps. And that's probably what Leach is dealing with. There's a lot of wear, just grip disappearing, and trying to figure out how to not overturn and just keep your car straight. But if you do too much counter steering, you're really going to be affecting those tires a lot as we go on, as we're now coming to the white flag of this heat race.
And as we heard from Dallas Myhand, he was told that the lane to choose, middle to high line here. That means that bottom's going to be wide open for the slide jobs to possibly take place here tonight. So obviously we know when we get down to the closing stage of this race, a lot of drivers will be attempting that.
Yeah, expecting really this first restart for when we start this race, going to be crazy to see, especially with the drivers being side by side. You never know if someone's going to be on the inside line and just loop it, or if someone on the outside bounces off the wall and comes down into another machine. There's a lot of factors to keep our eyes out on as drivers are getting gridded up and ready for the race.
So obviously, with the fact that the drivers here had their qualifying session just moments ago and our grid does not have time, our starting grid would not show you the lineup, so we're going to quickly give you the lineup here. 29 drivers scheduled to take the green flag here this evening, with Gerald Campbell on point, last week's winner Blaine Atkin in second, Jeff Green and John Whitendorf in row 2, Austin Edwards and Seth Harrelson in row 3. Row 4 is going to be Bo Brady and Jason Hounshell. I'm sorry, make that Tyler Riggs and Bo Brady. And then row 5, Jason Hounshell and Caden Thur making his first start. Also making his debut, 11th, Peyton Hamlet, Ernest King in 12th. Row 7 is going to be Hank Steinmiller and Kevin Ruff. Shane Lake and Dallas Myhan make up 15th and 16th. Peyton Hill, Anthony Guenery, Nick Radar, and James Roth, the top 20. They'll be followed by 21st, Kyle Johnson, 22nd, Randy Koking, 23rd, Tom Bourne, 24th place is going to be Joseph Causey. 25th, Jake Hounshell, and Jonathan Leach rolls off 26th. A name that I did not mention that was going to roll off from 24th was Christopher Morse Jr. Looks like we are going to get an update here on the admin situation from him, so let's get him here for just the moment and find out what is going on for the driver of the 3. Well, I was going to interview him, and apparently we can't right at the moment, so we'll try and find out what the situation is there, and that's tough there for a guy that comes into this race 7th in points.
Yeah, our usual race controller was not able to show up here for today, so Christopher Morris Jr., being one of the creators of G-Force, is going to be running the helm of race control tonight. Also, update Kevin Ruff, and it looks like, as well as Christopher Morris Jr., Rocky Boyd, and AJ DiMarzio will not be starting from the grid. If they do show up, they're going to be starting on pit row. Christopher Morris Jr., believe, is not racing today's race, as do running controls.
So 29 drivers were scheduled to take the green. Only 25 officially will be taking the green to start this race, and the 25 of Gerald Campbell will be the one to lead them to it as the pace truck heads to pit road. And here we go, folks. It's time to get the Sports Shift Media Thanksgiving Bash underway.
As Gerald Campbell going to be taking a good run. Jeff Green going to go drifting up into Weindorf a little bit, and that's something we're going to be seeing a lot for drivers, is through the center of the corner. But up front, Blaine Atkin, a huge run through off of 2. Now continuing on, Seth Harrelson into the wall.
And everybody's going to give him the room to be able to come back down, so no harm, no foul, at least for the moment. With everybody running about the same line here, when things start getting single-filed out, there's going to be very little opportunity for reaction time.
Loose.
And he's going to get Brady.
And they all start scattering around. They got to watch out. Got to back down their speed.
Oh, we got another spinner.
Down.
Austin Edwards has spun as again, and I think we had another car back there that was facing the wrong way. Might have been Guenery in the 16.
Lake. That looks like it was Shane Lake and Dallas Myhan involved in that one. And Austin Edwards is already out of the race. He is left and it is done.
Wow, I mean, we kind of saw that at the very tail end with Edwards getting loose and getting into Bo Brady, but that wreck started over in turn 4 and ended all the way over into the entrance of turn 1.
Oh, man. Dallas Myhan was slowing up because there were cars spinning in turn 1, and drivers behind Dallas did not even slow down at all, came running right into the 41 machine.
Here's a look at what happened here with Austin Edwards in the 18. Jeff Green on the top side. Man, that car just steps out on him. He gets into Bo Brady. Tyler Riggs going to get a little piece of it there as well in the 26. And then there you see Shane Lake in the 81 spinning, and we're going to take a look over in that first corner again with some other drivers that might have got some bits and pieces of that.
It looked like, oh my goodness, that was going to be Jake Hounshell. That just did not know, because Koking was slow, that Dallas Myhan completely stopped because of Lake.
That the 29 of Nick Radar, I think, that also got into the back of the 81. And there you see the front end damage on Jake Houndshell after getting into the back of Dallas Myhan. We'll take a more in-depth look at that one as well. So that's the thing about Bristol as well. Also, it's, we end up having, those drivers that have that significant damage leaving the scene of the accident. It's easy to tell they were involved, but there's a whole bunch of innocent bystanders that get bits and pieces as well.
That is a wild start to this race, and this was kind of what we were foreseeing in a way. It was the fact that drivers, you really don't know. This track is so small, so quick, that if a wreck happens in the entry of turn 1 like we saw, when you're coming out of 4, you really don't have a lot of time to react to it. And just like that, a lot of cars caught up and a lot of drivers' days looking almost over, as Austin Edwards, like we stated, has already left and has done DNF for the 18 driver that was having his debut race here today.
Yeah, Austin Edwards was looking like he was going to maybe be one of the drivers to challenge for the win here tonight. Was top of the board in practice, qualified up in the top 5 in qualifying session. We've got drivers that have come down pit road to get some damage repaired. Nick Radar, Hank Steinmiller in the 63. I don't know if he got a piece of that incident or not, but he was on pit road for a pretty extensive amount of time. Jake Houndshell and Dallas Myhead as well. And now actually Hank Steinmiller in the 63 coming back down pit road again.
Yeah, right now I'm trying to take a look at Steinmiller's car, and I'm not seeing a lot of damage on it. I think he just might be thinking, go to the back and try to survive back here. He does have slight front right damage for that 63 machine, but it is so difficult to even try to get tires for these cars as we're stacked up, ready to go green.
Ready to go back green flag racing. And again, for most of those drivers that came to pit road, more than likely it was just damage repair, because there's only 2 sets of tires awaiting these drivers in pit lane, and there's still over 140 laps to be run here tonight at Bristol.
It's so much racing action to be seen here, as a lot of these drivers, first caution of the day within 5 laps of us running. And you saw the drivers were just getting loose, and that's something to keep our eyes out on. As green flag out in the air, Blaine Atkin off to a great launch. The battle for 3rd place, Whitendorf and Green still side by side. It looks like Whitendorf might be able to carry on and hold this momentum, but here comes Jeff Green on the outside.
Yeah, you talked about how strong a car Blaine Atkin had last week at Richmond. A big reason why was he was very good at controlling the restarts. He has gapped himself to Gerald Campbell by nearly half a second already. They've now single-filed themselves out, top 5, top 10. We do have a battle here. Bo Brady in the 20. I'm really surprised he did not come
to the
to
back
pit.
stretch, spinning around, Coking, as well as it looks like Roth involved. No yellow being thrown just yet, as Coking going to get off track. Yellow being thrown now.
Caution is going to come out here. It doesn't take him long to get around Bristol Motor Speedway, and so a very smart move with the 19 facing backwards, not knowing if he was going to teleport. Now we have got another car that's actually facing the wrong way on the front stretch. That's Roth in the 4 car.
Yeah, Roth was involved with Coking on the backstretch, and might have been just those tires cooked up, as he's going to just loop it around out of 4 and into the inside wall. Roth hard contact. Coking's incident was very odd to see, because it started off with coming off turn number 4, then carried into coming off of 4, got into the inside wall, got straight again, but was extremely slow. And then on the backstretch, just kind of just drifted up into the 4 machine and causing this accident.
I'm almost wondering, maybe with that right front damage, maybe that might have knocked the suspension where the car wouldn't even turn left.
Yeah, if you look at this screen, with the new damage model, the tires can get broken and they will not allow you to turn. That's exactly what happened to the 19 machine, as his front left tire was completely jacked up and had no way of turning.
Let's see if we can take an onboard here with that 19 car and see just how much of an impact he took with that left front. This is the coming off of turn 4 when he gets the wall. I mean, you can just see how the tire almost is pushed up underneath the hood of that machine.
Yeah, and on the backstretch, completely was turned to the left, and it just wouldn't turn, going straight onto the wall, and Roth nowhere to go. And then Roth also involved in the accident where he spun around after the initial wreck, causing him to have nose damage. early wrecks, and I think what we're starting to see here, Seth, is track position is key, and stay up front the best that you can. But with this caution coming out, those drivers that weren't able to get enough repairs done, able to come back in, get more repairs, get back out on track.
Yeah, one of those drivers coming down pit road is the 20 of Bo Brady, who I was just going to comment prior to that wreck happening, was running still up inside of the top 10. He took some pretty significant damage to the left front after the contact between himself and Austin Edwards. I was surprised he actually had not come down pit road to get that repair, but it might have actually been maybe a little bit of experimentation by him to see how competitive, how fast could he be with that damage. Was he really going to have to fix it or not? And I think the answer was yes. He realized it wasn't nearly as fast as it was prior to getting that damage, so that's why he has come down pit road.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of these drivers are going to have to be testing a lot of. How damaged am I? Am I still competitive? Do I need to lose track position to get this damage repair? And that's what we're seeing right now. Randy Koking still in pit road getting damage repairs on that 19 machine, not looking so well as, like we said, that whole entire front left tire completely broke and would not turn at all and was jacked up. We'll see other drivers as they're coming in, as looks like Steinmiller coming in once again, one of the last cars coming to the pits.
I think you hit the strategy right on the head there about Steinmiller actually kind of self-EOLing himself, starting towards the back on these restarts. Because, I mean, we saw what happened moments ago when Houndshell ran to the back of Dallas Myhan, didn't realize there was a car stopped there. If you're towards the back of the pack, you have more of an opportunity to be able to slow down and avoid the race cars than you do if you're in the mid-pack, where you might be right on top of the incident happening.
I would say it's a genius plan, but he was almost caught up in that Koking wreck with Roth, so you're still not safe. I mean, up front, we saw Edwards spinning out around that first caution, so even if you are up front, your car still is feeling a little bit out of shape. Green flag out in the air.
Green flag out as Blaine Atkin to the point, tucked up in front of Gerald Campbell, then took the high line through 1 and 2. Battle is behind them is going to be for the 4th position. That's Tyler Riggs to the inside of Jeff Green. Green gets the advantage, and here comes Caden Thor in that M&M's machine.
Yeah, it looked like Hamlet in the 10 into the outside wall and still scrubbing the wall, coming into these corners, dropping back to 12th place, was running in 7th. That's Gerald Campbell down right on the back bumper of the 05. That's Atkin under heavy pressure.
And also joining this party is going to be John Whitendorf. Jeff Green, we got a car in trouble back there. That's Seth Harrelson, the 07. He gets it refired. That's, I believe, over in turns 1 and 2. Leaders are just now coming out of turn 4.
These cautions are going to be manual cautions for these drivers, so it's based off of, do we feel like this caution needs to be thrown? And due to the fact Seth Harrelson was away from a lot of other traffic, we stay green.
Seth Harrelson had himself a good qualifying effort here tonight as well. Good battle going on for around the 11th position. Mentioned Peyton Hamlin getting into the wall. He took a peek to the inside of Ernest King. Can't make it work there.
Oh, no! Houndshell on the wall! That's going to be Jason Houndshell up into the wall. We stay green as he was bouncing off the wall.
And he was up in the wall for a good portion of that back straightaway. Look at that right side damage on that machine. And the thing that worries me, we saw the damage to the 19 of Randy Koking, how that hit stopped the car from being drivable. I mean, how hard a hit can these cars take where they're not even going to be able to handle the car going into the corner?
For it to break one of the tires, you kind of have to hit the wall at an odd angle. If you are just bouncing off the wall like you're running a normal racing
we got another spinner. I'm sorry, that I believe it's Ernest King in the 24.
It is Ernest King. He's going to be on the inside. Lake's going to have to duck around as King is still stuck, and he's going to be almost going up into another car. Yellow flag up in the air as our leaders scatter around.
Oh, man, the wrecks that take place midway portion to rear of the field are so scary. To your point, the leaders were right on top of Ernest King as he was trying to get that thing refired.
That was going to be Roth once again, kind of in no man's land, and another car almost drifting right in front of him as Ernest King, instead of backing off and trying to get onto the apron to get going again, decides to full throttle it, trying to go up the track, which you're wasting a lot of time and burning a lot of rubber by doing that.
Well, you saw the wreck right there. It looked like Ernest King thought he was clear of Jonathan Leach, and he was not. Got hooked up into the outside wall. And yeah, you're right. I think that for these drivers, especially when they're stuck there in the middle of the track, they need to throw the car in reverse, at least get down on the apron out of harm's way, because Bristol, it's like a conveyor belt of cars. It doesn't take long until there's other machines that are going to be right on top of you.
Yeah, I'm going to take a look at Leach and see what damage that car has, because that was a pretty aggressive hit that he got with King coming back onto him. But really, this 48 machine's still looking pretty clean after that contact that he had.
And no surprise that Ernest King will probably be coming to pit road to get damage repaired. Looks like Jake Houndshell in the 02 coming down as well. You know, Jake Houndshell, we saw he had all that front end damage from running the back of Dallas Myhand. He had actually worked his way up to around the 14th position on that last restart. So apparently, even though it may not look pretty, that car still is up to pretty good race running capabilities.
Yeah, I mean, you just got to make sure you're able to continue running, and that's the key. If your engine's still going and you've got decent amount of power, you're hoping to have full power, but if you're not losing too much, you can still run pretty well here at Bristol. Yeah, I don't believe these cars are really hitting their high RPMs entering these corners, so they still have a lot of power, even if you lose it, to be running decently well. And it's more of running consistent than anything else. Even with damage, if you can run consistently well on that high line and making passes here or there, you should be good to at least aim for a top 15 finish here.
Kind of feel like we've gone back a week to Richmond. We got Blaine Atkin leading this race, but Kyle Johnson, remember last week he wasn't able to set down a lap time, started the back of the pack. Well, this week, internet connection issues causing him to not be able to set down a lap time. We're 3 cautions in, 28 laps into this run, and that 88 car is up in the 7th spot.
Started 21st on the grid up to 7th. I mean, Kyle Johnson, he does this time after time. But the issue is, Kyle Johnson, he usually does well at the start of these races, and then at the midpoint, he gets caught up in something that takes his 88 car out. Yeah, I'm not trying to jinx him, but I'm just looking at what we've seen from this 88 machine from all the races. Can he stay consistent and run up front this race, or will we be seeing him get caught up in another wreck?
Well, the one difference between last week and this week, last week, it was a lot of Kyle Johnson having to really fight his way up into the top 10, and we were questioning at the time, how much of his Goodyear rubber had he used up in doing so. Here so far in this race, I think it's been more a lot of capitalizing on mistakes of drivers ahead of him, so I'm not necessarily certain he's had to use up nearly as much tire in the beginning of this race as he did last week.
Yeah, I mean, we're coming up to lap 30 here of 150 laps, and these drivers, you're starting to see a couple of them that were starting up front, drivers that we had our eye on that could be having good runs. Seth Harlson, Jake Houndshell, they're in the back half of the field that's being caught up in damage. Green flag it back in the air. Blaine Atkin to the front. And just watching these drivers, top 4 in line. Now the battle's for 5th place.
It's the fight to get to the top here as side by side between Caden Thur and Tyler Riggs for 5th position. Kyle Johnson in that mix along with Joseph Causey and Tom Bourne. Riggs right now stuck in what most people would think would be the advantage lane. No, everybody wants to be up in that higher line.
No, Campbell up in the wall. He's able to save it through 3 wide. Campbell back up in the wall, coming back down. He's trying to save that 25 machine, but just like that, the outside line's where you want to be. But if you get caught up on that outside wall, you're losing all those positions.
We saw how last week at Richmond, then points leader Jake Houndshell lost the points and got another car up in the wall there. Oh, we got a wreck over in turns 3 and 4.
Huge wreck going around back there as cars all over the place. That's going to be Peyton Hill and others.
Peyton Hill, Hank Steinmiller may have gotten a piece of that one as well. I think I saw Guenery maybe get a slight bit of that also. I think his was the car I saw sideways up there in turn 3. And
Steinmiller, Guenery.
I don't know if this started with the 29 of Nick Radar. I saw him up into the wall, and then just everybody behind him, it looked like, was spinning out afterwards.
Well, it was the fact that, yes, Steinmiller kind of backed off a little bit more and might have gotten on the brakes a little bit quicker than he had been doing. But Peyton Hill was right on the back bumper of that 63 machine. And once they got hooked up, there was nothing else they could do but spin around and get caught up in that. And right now, we threw up the idea of maybe Steinmiller, the advantage of being in the back. But still, if you want to make a charge up front, you're going to get caught up in wrecks like this. And Steinmiller, just like that, caught up in a wreck.
Jake Houndshell caught up in another one. Harlson got a little piece afterwards. And also, as we said, the 16 of Anthony Guenery. So at least 6 cars collected up in this one. our fourth caution of the evening. And it's getting to the point here, Sam, where, we usually talk about the tires there and, when you want to come in and get them. It may not even come down to that because there's a lot of opportunity for these drivers under caution to be able to come down and take those tires. So far, 36 laps about to be completed, and we're working our fourth caution of the night.
Yeah, and right now, I mean, up front, drivers really haven't changed up so much. I think the biggest really driver that dropped back during that run was Gerald Campbell, went from second back to 8th place after being stuck on the wall. And we're seeing up front, it's difficult to make passes. It's more of if someone makes a mistake, that's when you get to start moving forward.
Not even halfway through this race so far, already our fourth yellow of the evening, and it has definitely taken its toll. Austin Edwards is retired out of the race in 25th. Randy Koking still sits on pit lane trying to get damage repaired to his machine, currently 25 laps down in the 24th position. I believe there was a lucky dog recipient under this yellow flag. Not 100% certain who it was. It might have been the 24 of Ernest King. Right now, we've got 3 cars scored off the lead lap. Hank Steinmiller, Peyton Hill, and James Roth. Steinmiller actually, I think, is going to get his lap back. He did get out ahead of the pace truck. But Roth and Hill currently going to be scored 1 lap down. Nope, correction. Steinmiller did not beat the pace truck off pit road. So there will be 3 lap machines when we go back green.
3 cars, 1 lap down. One going to be 26 laps down here for the Sports Shift Media Thanksgiving Bash at Bristol. Seth, it's Thanksgiving time, and Bristol here, it's all about getting retaliation. Maybe some of these guys are thinking about getting some, before they gather with families. Get a little bit of anger out here at the Glass Coliseum.
Yeah, if they don't have something to be thankful for yet this year, they can be thankful they settled the score here tonight at Bristol Motor Speedway. I mean, they don't call it the last great Coliseum for nothing. This is where battles take place and scores are settled. And I know that obviously a lot of these drivers, they're eyeing that championship at the end of the season. But I mean, it's the 4th race of the year. It's still early. If you end up taking yourself out in a wreck while settling a little bit of a rivalry with somebody else, you got enough season to be able to make it up back.
Or you might be thankful for the fact that you survived today's race.
Yeah.
This is going to be a wild one for these drivers. Kyle Johnson having issues in front of these drivers, I think, as cars are having issues connection-wise, and it really blocked up that high line that weren't able to go, as now Blaine Atkin going to the lead. Jeff Green 2nd place, Whitendorf, and Causey going to be in 4th place. Is Causey under fire now by Kyle Johnson?
Yeah, that really checked up drivers like Tyler Riggs and Caden Thor, who were on that outside line, with the fact the 88 had disappeared coming to the restart. And for those guys that were on the top side, they didn't want him to reappear inside of their race cars, as Kyle Johnson has reappeared now, holding down the 4th position. Behind him, though, how about the battle here? Peyton Hamlet and Caden Thor. Those 2 drivers making their first starts of the season, doing pretty well here so far early at Bristol.
Huge issues for Gerald Campbell in that 25 machine, stuck on the outside wall and has lost his front bumper because of that. This 25 machine back in 19th place after losing all that ground.
Boy, Gerald Campbell going from bad to worse for that machine all the way back now, as you said, outside the top 15, as up at the front, it's Blaine Atkinson continue to show the way. And as I said, with the situation with Jake Hounshell last week, it is possible for drivers that are 2nd and 3rd in points, if Campbell finishes way back here, for them to capitalize, take the new points lead. And we got a spinner. Dallas Myhand, I believe. No, Caden Thor in the 57, and Dallas Myhand on the front straightaway.
We stay green as cars were able to stay straight, but that was a very shaky moment for those drivers, because Dallas Myhand got absolutely punted on the back end of his car. Now drops back to 19th place, but up front, they're still scattered in kind of a hornet's nest, but up front, our top 5 right on top of one another still.
Blaine Atkin by about 4 car lengths over Jeff Green. He looked in his rearview mirror, sees John Whitendorf, Kyle Johnson, and Joseph Causey all up there as well. This battle all going on about 7/10 back to drivers like Peyton Hamlet and Tyler Riggs. So these 5, at least for the moment, hoping this thing remains green, because they've got themselves a bit of separation.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing, though, is due to the fact that it is manual cautions for this league. These drivers have to deal with the fact of Caution might not come out when you start scattering around, cars getting a little bit sideways, unless it is completely clogging up the track. And right now, this battle for second place, Weindorf really wanting to get by Jeff Green, and Jeff Green looks like he's really not trying to push it too hard, trying to just hit his marks and slowly chip away as he's gaining just a little bit each lap on the 05.
I believe this is the longest green flag run we've had so far here tonight, Sam. We're starting to see the other aspect of Bristol. Lap traffic. That's the 24 of Ernest King just up ahead of these top 5. Question is, where will he go? Mostly, I would think these leaders would prefer the lap cars to go to the inside since the outside line is preferred, but Blaine Atkin going to dive to the bottom instead.
Everyone's now going to try to figure out, does the inside work? You got to be careful when you're down there, though, because your car just wants to snap on you. As we're waiting and seeing as the cars are struggling at the moment to get by this 24 machine. Ernest King, just keep your line, hold it, and hope for the rest of the field to get by you. As right now, this is hurting some cars, and Ernest King has to be careful not to bounce off that outside wall and come back down. As right now, we're watching and waiting as Hamlet able to get by, and now you got Riggs, Bo Brady, and Tom Bourne following suit after they get by this 24 car.
That 24 machine hold up the top 5 really helped Peyton Hamlet to be able to catch back up here. So now it's a 6-car train up at the front of the field, then the lap machine of King, and then you go back to Tyler Riggs, Bo Brady, Tom Bourne, and others. I'm looking at a number of these drivers that started out this race with some early damage that have fought their way back up into the top 10. You have Jason Hounshell, who we saw up in the wall earlier, Jake Hounshell as well, who had a lot of front-end damage. They're 11th and 12th. Bo Brady, who had that left front damage from the earlier incident, he's up in 8th. So a lot of these drivers, only a third of the way you get through, already mounting some comeback stories.
Yeah, if anything, it's like 10th on back are drivers that were involved in some type of incident as they continue to be running and staying green. The fact that cars are so spread out, that's what's kind of helping the field at the moment is if you get caught up with someone, you got space to try to save it and get back going again instead of worrying about a long train of cars behind you. They're going to be trying to make some moves. But right now, Jeff Green, Weindorf, they're still on top of one another, keeping within a half a second of Blaine Atkin. And as we stay green, these drivers still have not pitted for tires. Longest green flag run. When will tires be a factor for these drivers is the question.
Yeah, I mean, obviously a lot of these drivers, I'm sure, want to save a set for later on in the race in case we end up having a late race restart. But at the same time, there might be some drivers out there that planned on splitting this race into thirds, 50-50-50. So we are past the point where they would expect to come down pit road and take on that set of tires. And they may get to take on now.
Tom Bourne as well. Oh no, a huge wreck in front of Tom Bourne. I think that might have been Nick Radar, and it was.
Joseph Causey involved as well. There is Bourne, the pedigree machine, stuck on the inside wall. 29 of Nick Radar is going to come to a stop.
I don't know what Nick Radar was thinking. He just full throttled into Tom Bourne instead of backing off like the rest of the cars in front of him. He might have even pushed it. He just full sended it into the 54 machine, and that explosion was so violent. And I'm surprised Nick's Radar's engine is still working.
Now Nick actually had to teleport his car to pit lane as it came to a halt down the apron of turn 1. Blaine Atkin, we saw there, came to pit lane. So Atkin giving up the race lead, come down, take on a set of tires. We'll go back and take a look at this incident on the front straightaway.
Yeah, it all started with Joseph Causey on the backstretch out of 2. I think he might have gotten a little bit of a bump from Peyton Hill here. Actually, that was from Hamlin, excuse me, that he got the bump, got into Johnson. And just, it's the fact that cars are riding right on top of one another. One simple mistake can cost you. Tom Bourne had nowhere to go, and Nick Radar came flying in like a missile. It's just one of those racing incidents, and now we're starting to see drivers coming in the pits as we're front half coming in. Blaine Atkin into the pits.
That was definitely a shot there that Tom Bourne took, and you saw the black smoke erupting from his machine. So that is a clear indication that his night may be over. I mean, even if that engine is repairable, you spend, about half an hour sitting on pit road waiting for that thing to be able to at least be back to racing condition?
Yeah, you're waiting for a half an hour to sometimes 45 minutes just sitting on pit road for required repair that you need for that engine. And then there's might be some optional repairs that you can take to help your car run even better. But I mean, we've already been out on track for almost 30 minutes itself with cautions and a little bit of green flag running. Been out here for over 60 laps. And that you're not going to have a lot of time to get that time or any of those positions back if you get your car set. We'll see who stays and who goes after these repairs, but extremely violent wrecks for these drivers. And it's one of those things of communication kind of has to be key with these drivers. You have a way to say, hey, wreck on the backstretch for cars to try to back up or a car spinning. And for some, they can react quick enough. For others, it's full send and hope for the best. As you saw Nick Radar absolutely plow that 54 machine, and Tom Bourne had nowhere to go running into Kazi, and all three of those machines going to be dealing with a lot of damage in pit road for a while. But up front, Jeff Green, John Whitendorf, Hamlet, as well as Jason Houndshell out there on track have not pitted yet. Jake Houndshell has pitted, but I don't think that Jake's taken any of his tires just yet, just a whole bunch of damage repaired.
Right, yeah, you can see that they've done the best they could to the front end of that 0-2 to try and repair the damage he got all the way back in the early stages of this race. It looks like right now our top 8 have not been to pit road yet in this one in terms of taking on tires. Tyler Riggs, Caden Thur, as well as Gerald Campbell and Blaine Atkin. They're going to be some of the front runners with fresh tires. The green flag back in the air, and this is going to be fun to watch Blaine Atkin and company try and make their way through with those fresher tires.
Is it going to be, I mean, you're going to be so much faster with these new fresh tires, but it's kind of nerve-wracking because cars that haven't taken tires, their car's going to be slipping and sliding on this track, as it is going to be still slick. It's 90 degrees track temp, and the tire's going to be worn. How aggressive can we see drivers be? Is Blaine Atkin kind of stuck? He might be poking his nose 3 wide as they're still side-by-side back here, almost about 4 cars, 5 cars deep.
And you see him back there as Tyler Riggs, right now the highest running of the drivers on fresh tires. And as soon as I say that, Gerald Campbell trying to pass him. That would be for 7th place. Up at the front, though, good battle going on for around the 4th position. That's where you find the 2 Houndshell brothers, Jason and Jake. They've got Anthony Guenery all over their back bumper.
And here comes Tyler Riggs on the inside of the 16 of Guenery, and also going to be getting under here. One of the Houndshells going to be trying to make a push forward. Gerald Campbell, he's running with a lot of speed, and their goal is to try to pull away as fast as possible. As yellow in the back.
It was Blaine Atkins in the 0-5, an issue over on the back straightaway.
Blaine
the front
Atkin
straightaway.
Tried to push it 3 wide for a second there. Leach goes in. Johnson almost lost it as well into the inside wall very hard for that 0-5 machine, and he is done. He has already parked it. A DNF for Blaine Atkin.
Man, I mean, he went with the strategy of giving up track position for tires, but there's just so much traffic here in the midway portion of the field. There you see the shot into the inside wall. And of course, with no fast repairs available, that almost looks very similar to the kind of hit Randy Koking took with the right front tire. And Koking is, I believe, still sitting on pit road getting his damage repaired. So Blaine Atkin, not willing to spend the time to get that car repaired, calls it an early night. And last week's winner will not go back-to-back.
Looking at drivers, then actually looks like Koking was able to get that 19 machine repaired and running, and actually has moved up to 23rd position. Into the pits, Jeff Green, Whitendorf, and all the drivers that have not pitted yet coming in, getting their services done now. Also, drivers that need repairs will be taking the pits, which will be gifting Tyler Riggs the starting and being in first place. This is, I mean, that crazy to see. Blaine Atkin, one of our favorites here, already taken out of the race. Other cars that have DNF'd and have parked it, Nick Radar, Tom Bourne, they have officially parked it as well with Blaine Atkin. Looking to see where drivers are at right now. I mean, it's crazy to see how just scattered our field is now with the damage that we've seen so far, as well as cars just trying to hold on, as it just seems like the outside wall is just pulling cars in.
Well, I hope I'm not jinxing him, but it's wild to take a look at our point standings coming into tonight and how Bristol is taking and playing no favorites. Gerald Campbell came in the points leader. he's gotten damage. Blaine Atkins out of the race. He was third in points. Dallas Myhand, his rear end got jacked up early on in this race. He was fourth in points. Jake Hounshaw was the guy that ran into Myhand. He's got front end damage, and he's fifth coming in this race. The only driver in the top 5 that at this point has not received some significant damage is that 33 of John Whitendorf. The thing is, we've still got half this race to go, so he's not out of the woods yet.
Why did you have to say Whitendorf's name? He's going to be starting back here.
Commentator curse, I know.
The middle of the field's where he's at. That's probably one of the most dangerous spot to be at the moment. And Whitendorf's going to have to try to figure out how to get by all of this. And at some point, we're going to be bringing in our in-race reporter of Dallas Myhand, but the driver is still trying to figure out where they're going to be placed here on this restart. Tyler Rakes, Jake Hounshaw, your front 2, Gerald Campbell, and Jonathan Leach, your row number 2, as we get ready to line these cars up to go green.
Yeah, we're going to be getting the 1 to green signal this time. We'll see if we can get a word with Myhand under the next caution period, should we get one. But what's interesting to me here is Riggs, Campbell, Leach, Brady. We know they've all come down and taken on a set of tires under the caution prior to this. I don't think that 0-2 has taken any tires yet since the drop of the green flag.
I mean, he's come into the pits 4 times. He could have taken it the last time he was in, but I don't believe that Jake Hounshaw has, as we're getting ready to go green here. Next caution, I'll take a quick look to see when Jake Hounshaw did get his tires. But these drivers really trying to branch out as far as they can go here. And honestly, that 1 pit stop could be enough if we stay green for all these drivers to make it to the end.
25 drivers took the green to start this race. Right now, only 16 of them on the lead lap as Riggs starts to edge ahead of this battle for second between Campbell and Hounshaw.
As there's still Leach coming in, moving, and Bo Brady on the inside. This battle for third and fourth getting really interesting right now for the drivers. Almost 4-3 wide action. Would we see 4 wide? Would someone dare it? As these cars really just want to stay 2x2.
We got Jake under fire. His brother Jason was actually up and into the wall back there. Everyone gave him room, and it's hard to tell here as far as Jake Hounshaw if he's actually losing that momentum through the corners because of the damage or because he hasn't been to pit road. It may be a combination of both. He's going to lose the 3rd spot to Bo Brady. Here comes Leach for 4th. Kyle Johnson right there, as well as Jeff Green waiting to pounce.
Jeff Green right now, this is probably the most optimal time for that 2 machine, as we're starting to see cars up front in front of them have been on a little much older tires. The issue is you're seeing two wide action in front of you, and honestly, it's looking a little bit more nerve-wracking as Leach now side by side with the 88, and it looks like he'll be losing time on that inside groove.
We were almost looking 3 wide there off of turn 2 as Johnson was thinking about going up the middle with Leach and Hounshaw. Now it's going to be Johnson getting the spot. Leach stuck on the inside line, going to tuck up in front of Jeff Green. Behind them, you've got John Whitendorf as well as Dallas Myhand in the 41 machine. I mean, right now as things stand, if everybody that's on the lead lap continues running, they're going to be guaranteed a spot more than likely inside the top 15 with after everything we've seen so far here at Bristol, some of those drivers might be willing to settle for that.
Ernest King, right when we went green on this last restart, pulled it into the pits, trying to get repairs done on that 24 car.
Right now, he scored 8 laps down. We got 2 drivers that are -1. That is Joseph Causey and James Roth. Right now, Causey in the lucky dog position should get another yellow. And Jeff Green taking a little look here, maybe 3 wide on Leach and Hounshaw. Now both the 48 and the 2 going to run the inside line. Hounshaw gets the wall. Ooh, Green pushes up. Man, this is treacherous from just outside the top 5.
Green, White, Dorp, Dallas Myhand on the inside. Also Guenery behind Dallas Myhand as they're trying to make this inside line groove work. Jeff Green gets in front of this group and now going to be trying to make a move forward. And it looks like it might have been Peyton Hamlet into the wall, losing a lot of time now as he drops back, loses a position. It looks like as he's lost the position to a lap car of Causey there, but they still stay in line. Whitendorf trying to make a pass here on Leach.
Leach on the top side, which is usually the advantage line. I think Caden Thur may have just gotten the wall there off of turn 2. I think that's been the broken record phrase of the night, getting into the wall. A lot of drivers have been slapping that outside wall. A lot of these drivers might well be at Darlington because they've got a lot of stripes on the right side of their machines.
Definitely a lot of stripes. Leach now on the outside, and Thorne going to be trying to make that pass as Caden going to be a little bit of internet issues for that 57 machine, and now drivers are questioning where is he on the track because he hasn't popped back up.
Yeah, it's not good. Oh, he's going to reappear right in front of Jake Hounshell. I mean, I guess that's one way to make a pass, the magic trick.
Yeah, and then you also got Guenery, who popped out behind Hounshell there for a second. His car's backing up and trying not to run into one another. This is what we saw a couple of cautions ago. His car's backing off and running into one another.
Yeah, and with them being in such close proximity, going back to that incident that we had with Hank Steinmiller and company, I think that was about 3 cautions ago, an incident further up, everybody racing bumper to bumper. If somebody ahead of you checks up, you may not get the message.
Hamlin as well going to be involved in that one, but hard contact between the 0-2 and the 10, as it looks like Hamlin going to be getting the worst of that, dropping back. Hank Steinmiller, who was just involved in an accident about 3 cautions ago, now up to 13th place on the back bumper of Jake Hounshell. As we move up, battling still underway, as Kyle Johnson going to be trying to still battle back at Jeff Green.
Yeah, that 4th place, and up ahead of them, battle for 2nd. Bo Brady takes a look to the inside of Gerald Campbell, trying to move up to the runner-up spot. That's close off of 2. Might have been a little bit of contact. Campbell backs out of it. Brady into the runner-up spot.
And now Bo Brady's going to try to run down Tyler Riggs, but the gap is 2.2 seconds, now up to 2.3 is Tyler Riggs with fresh air, just moving away and pulling away from the rest of the field.
We had some smoke off of turn 4 there. I was looking to see if someone ran into an issue. It might have been the blinking number 10 of Peyton Hamlet that might have left a little bit of a smoke cloud there. Didn't see anybody's telemetry drop on our screen, so I think for the moment everybody's been able to keep it straight.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what it was. It was that little bit of a blip as Jonathan Leach now going to be almost thrown into the wall after being passed by Guenery there. Guenery going to be trying to get by Dallas Myhan for 8th place. And then in front of them, Whitendorf still trying to figure out how to get by, as it looks like Gerald Campbell, that damage has caught up to him, as well as the tires, as the fresher tires start moving up closer and closer to the front.
Jeff Green's gotten around him for 3rd. They're trying to settle out who's going to be 5th here between Kyle Johnson and John Whitendorf. Johnson's going to clear for the spot. Now he'll set his sights on the 25 to try and move up a spot further inside of the top 5. The driver we haven't talked about at all here is Tyler Riggs, the race leader. Why? Well, he's over 2.5 seconds ahead of the runner-up driver of Bo Brady.
Yeah, and there's not really, it's a pretty big gap right now between Tyler Riggs and the next lap car that he's going to have to deal with. That's going to be James Roth, and James Roth about a straightaway difference from Tyler Riggs. So Riggs can just pull away, keep on gaining this lap, these really no pressures. Jeff Green now going to be trying to get by Bo Brady, and then behind them, Gerald Campbell's got a wall of cars behind him.
Gerald Campbell was just pushed through 3 and 4 by John Whitendorf. Whitendorf wants to go. Now he's pinned to the inside. Caden Thur's going to try the top side, but now he's boxed in behind the 25.
Yeah, and now they're going to continue to stay side by side here, and John Whitendorf, he was running just as fast as Jeff Green, but due to the fact that he's been catching cars and not able to make the passes as well as he wants, he's now stalled out back here in 5th place as the tires are starting to equal out a little bit.
You just saw the pass for 2nd place. Jeff Green moving into the runner-up spot. He's got 10 lap fresher tires than Tyler Riggs, so we'll see if he's going to be able to cut into a 2.8 second gap between the two of them. Obviously, we know a caution would certainly help, and if we do have a yellow, it may be somewhere in the realm of this battle from 4th back to about the 8th position.
It's going to be 50 laps to go, back to be 49 when Tyler Riggs crosses the line again. Just keeping the eye out, looking at the telemetry. Jeff Green running about 0.2 faster that last time. This time around, 0.2 once again. He's chipping away each lap. He should be there in about 10 to possibly maybe about 25 laps.
Some of these drivers are down on pit road around lap 61. Other drivers were down pit road around lap 72. I've heard that some of these drivers have thought about going 100 laps on a set of tires, that it is possible. So, if we go green to the end, we may see nobody on pit road here coming up to the checkered flag.
Green flag pit stops might not be a must, but this battle right now for 4th place, it might be where we find our caution if we're going to have one, because there's still 2 by 2 by 2, and it is really looking nerve-wracking, because that inside line, the longer it goes, the more that back end's going to want to loop out on him.
who brought the super speedway cars to Bristol, because it's 3 rows of double wide racing right now, and neither lane has really been able to gain an advantage. They've all kind of stayed
Oh,
side
no,
by side.
go! It's going to be third. Oh, no. We knew it was going to happen at some point. Who else got collected, or did anyone else get collected?
If somebody did, it was minimal damage. Whoa, Hank Steinmiller nearly getting into the 57, and that was a case of internet connection problems. We actually had to focus off the 57 because he disappeared from our screen, and unfortunately, because he was in that big battle for the 4th position, he reappeared in front of another car. We had some netcode issues, and that's why the 57 went around in the back straightaway.
Yeah, it's just one of those things of internet and racing online is one of those factors of you don't know when someone's going to come back up, and you hate to see that type of race that happen to someone, but it's one of those things where you kind of hope that your internet will come back at optimal time, but sometimes it just doesn't. And Kyle Johnson did not even know that the 57 was going to pop up right where he was.
Like 3 drivers may have gotten some damage out of that wreck. 16 of Anthony Guenery, the 10 of Peyton Hamlet, and possibly the 07 of Seth Harrelson, but it looked like rather minimal contact opposed to what we've seen so far here today, so they may still be okay.
Bo Brady and others following suit. Tires looking very important as Whitendorf, Campbell, and others follow behind into the pits. Up front, it really looks like 3 cars going to be staying out. Multiple cars actually going to be staying out compared to the other machines. Tyler Riggs, Jeff Green, Anthony Guenery, as well as Leach, going to be staying out. You can also put Steinmiller into the cars staying out this time by. This is they're putting themselves in a very dangerous situation here with cars being on over 50 lap old tires once we go green compared to drivers are going to have much fresher tires. That's a lot of difference of speed and a caution just asking to happen.
I mean, we saw the difference of speed between 10-lap fresher tires when Jeff Green was slowly cutting into Tyler Riggs' lead. The difference now is going to be anywhere from 40 to 50-lap fresher tires, depending on the drivers they've got ahead of them.
Well, due to the fact that the drivers have gotten done with pit road, we talked about that we were going to be talking to them. We're going to be setting up to talk to our in-race reporter of Dallas Myhand here soon, as this 41 machine going to be starting back in 8th place, and a lot of other cars
we can
hungry
get a
with
word
speed.
with him right now as he has finished up his pit stop and getting ready to go back racing with less than 40 to go. Hey Dallas, it's Sam and Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios. You got us, man?
Yes, I do, guys.
And you've had an adventure here today. Early contact, but you've been able to fight your way back up in the top 10. You've got 4 fresh Goodyears underneath you. What do you think you can do with them?
I feel like I can get near the front with these guys. Here, these guys. I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, Dallas, it's been wild up front with drivers with such different tires than what you're going to be having. Do you think that it's going to be a hazard to try to get through this traffic?
I think so, yeah, for the next about 10 laps, I feel like, once my tires heat up. But once my tires get settled down, the temperature, we should scuba past these guys.
Well, Dallas, despite your early damage, that car's looked pretty fast, pretty racy. Good luck to you here, getting ready for this restart. Hopefully we'll be talking to you at the end of this thing.
Thank you, guys.
And you can just hear the adrenaline rush in the voice right there. You can zone in on those type of things. He's nervous for this restart.
I mean, so that excitement level is so high as we're about to go 39 laps to go. We went on a pretty long reflex stretch there, but it's going to be very hectic with cars up front, with older tires. Can they hold on, and how fast can the new tires go? As that inside line just doesn't go. Jeffrey Green could not take off. Tyler Riggs to the front. And who else can go through this field?
Jonathan Leach now trying to get the second spot, but Green battles back to try and paddle for that second position. Now he'll jump up to the top side. Here comes the fresh tires, though. That's the 20th.
Oh, Brady! He was the car with the freshest tires. Guenery and others caught up in that one.
The track is blocked up in turn 1. Dallas Myhand got a piece of that wreck as well.
In front of them.
We may have gotten away with a couple of drivers only involved. Nope, there's more.
No more. Yeah, no, after they spun out, Jake Hounshell and Hamlet as well caught up in that one as just more cars pile into this accident.
And I guarantee you, with the laps ticking down, we're going to continue to see more and more of this. We saw early cautions, things settled out midway portion of the race, but now with a checkered flag on the line and so many differing tire strategies, we're going to be seeing a lot more aggressiveness like this.
Yeah, Bo Brady was the car with freshest tires, and he kind of got pinched up in an odd spot where he couldn't really move up, and Guenery didn't know that, so he wasn't given that information. And I think Bo Brady expecting a lot more room on that inside groove, and just it wasn't there for those cars. And then in front of them, Houndshell and Hamlet had nowhere to go for themselves either.
Boy, it was hard for me to tell. I don't know if you were able to get a camera angle, but who was it that shot the 16 up into the air going into turn 1?
Believe looking at it, that might have been a Jason Houndshell there in the 00.
That's exactly who it was. My goodness, that's a hard shot there. Sent the entire rear end of the 16 machine up and into the air, almost to the catch fence. And then we're going to look here at Jake Houndshell and the 10 of Peyton Hamlet, their incident as well, as they were both, I think, just trying to migrate down to the bottom of the racetrack to avoid the airborne 16.
Also, Dallas Myhan, our M-Race supporter of the race here today, he was slightly caught up in that one. Had an amazing save coming through 1 and 2 on the apron. So this 41 machine could have had a lot more damage involved with this 41 car, but able to save it and keep running in front.
Yeah, went slideways after a little contact in the left rear, and it looks like Houndshell and Hamlet might be okay as well. I don't think either one of them actually even hit the inside wall. They just ended up sliding. You know, a thing that I got to think about here, too, with these slides these drivers are taking, we know that on concrete it's usually a little bit slicker, and slicker conditions means it's going to wear those tires down a little bit more. You know, a lot of drivers had the early issues, didn't come down pit road for tires. As we get closer to the end of this race, how much of a necessity is it going to be for drivers that go into those long slides to come down and take on that second and final set?
I mean, for some of these drivers, it might be important. I mean, we're within the zone where we're going to be having about 30 laps to go. If you've been saving up your set for the final shot, this is your time to come in. I mean, yes, you're going to be in the threat of being in the back half of the field, where you're not going to have a lot to work with because of traffic, but this might be your best time to go. Tyler Riggs, though, sticking with his guns, staying up front. Bo Brady is going to be very quick. First car of those fresher tires, and you got Kyle Johnson, Whitendorf, and Dallas Myhan just being involved in that accident, having a little slight damage. I don't know how much that's going to be affecting the 41 moving forward, so I'm keeping my eye out on that 20 machine, the 88 and the 33, as being my favorites to really move up to the front and make some noise for the cars in front of them. But if we continue to have yellow flags coming in every 3 to 4 laps, I don't think it's going to give any opportunity for Bo Brady or others with the fresher tires to make those moves, unless you see someone like Jeff Green, like we saw, have a little bit of a restart issue, as cars are going to have a single file restart from here on out. We are green, and look, just like that, Jonathan Leach dumps to the inside, out of the way. Jeff Green, Tyler Riggs move on.
Really surprised that the 16 of Anthony Guenery is still out there after we saw him fly up into the air. These last 2 cautions put Joseph Causey and James Roth back on the lead lap, and also currently getting damage repaired. Jason Houndshell 3 laps down, and Peyton Hamlet 4 laps down.
Guenery and Johnson involved with a little bit of contact coming out of 3 and 4 as they continue to move on. As it looks like Bo Brady is there. Bo Brady in the 20 machine. He's running the back bumper of Jeff Green, making the pass here for second place, and might make it 2 for 1 through this corner.
Boy, look at that, able to stick the bottom with those fresh tires. He's going to at least get the second spot. Can he clear the 26 off of turn 4? Not quite there. Now he will be going into turn 1. Brady to the point. That's a driver that comes into this race 17th in the standings. Boy, what a shot in the arm would be for him to go to victory lane tonight.
Yeah, Kyle Johnson's going to be stuck on the high side. They're trying to make some moves. They have to come to the middle. Car on the top side, stuck and moving back. Jonathan Leach back to 11th place after being shoved to the outside, but up front the pass for second place. Kyle Johnson making the move. Here comes Whitendorf for the 33.
Oh, we're going 3 wide perhaps as Riggs went way up the track.
Yeah.
Green in the middle, Myhan on the bottom. It actually was Whitendorf on the bottom who completed a pass.
Whitendorf able to continue going. Dallas Myhan could have kept it really digging there, but decides otherwise. Safest decision for that 41 to keep his car running straight. Bo Brady has taken off. Kyle Johnson trying to run him down, but the gap is almost a second between the 20 and the 88 for first and second place.
Starting to see the drivers on the older tires starting to fade back. Tyler Riggs, Jeff Green, as well as Jake Countshell. Right now, those drivers, they're trying to stay up here with the fresher Goodyears, but not quite being able to get the speed, especially off the corner on the straightaway. That's where these fresher tires are gaining the most time.
Yeah, and right now, Seth Harlson, who we've seen involved in multiple wrecks, up in the wall multiple times, in the top 10, and right now trying to get by Jeff Green and might be trying to make a move here on Tyler Riggs. These other drivers needing a caution at some point if they want a chance to win this race, but it's not looking like a caution's going to come out anytime soon as the battle for second place still goes on. Whitendorf looking extremely strong in that 33 machine.
Caught Shane Lake. We saw him just moments there at the tail end of that battle, that four-way battle with Harlson, Green, Riggs, and himself. Has now gotten by Riggs up to the 8th position. Good run for the 81 after the struggles of Richmond last week.
Yeah, a fabulous run after being involved in that first wreck of the day. Slowly, methodically got the damage repair, got back up front, slowly waiting for other cars to wreck out of themselves. And now we're starting to see the cars that have been able to survive and make it to this point. They're making their charge up to the top 10.
We got drivers that are on pit road that effectively are out of this race as we're closing on 20 laps to go. Jason Hounshell, Peyton Hamlet, Caden Thor. They will not be in the hunt for this win. Right now, 15 cars on the racetrack on the lead lap, all still with a shot of winning this race because we still don't know what's going to happen here in these final 20 laps.
Yeah, and also keeping our eye out on lap traffic as Bo Brady coming up to Randy Kokien, and Randy Kokien has been involved in multiple wrecks and still has been just chugging along, trying to get every position he can. Was wrecked out in this 19 machine all the way back in 25th position at one point. Now having a chance to get up to 18th for his best so far, and might even get more.
And that is why, even if the car may not be completely up to speed, you stay out there and run as many laps as possible because every position is points. Randy Kokien knows that, and he's been able to pick up a lot of positions with drivers that have DNF'd early on in this one.
And cars that are looking close. The battle for second place still right on top of one another, but our leaders have to be worrisome as they're catching up to the end of lead lap traffic, and these are all battles for position as Bo Brady has to cut through this as he's losing time.
And the bad thing for Bo Brady, not only is he losing time because of this lap traffic,
he pushes Campbell out of the way.
Second and third were actually reeling him in. They were a tenth quicker than he was those last couple of laps. Here comes Kyle Johnson in the 88. He's now going to be less than 3 car lengths on the front stretch.
This is the factor of Bristol. It's so short. If you get caught up and lose time, those cars behind you are going to catch up. Gerald Campbell gets scrubbed off into the wall, but Bo Brady, he's still stuck on the inside. Kyle Johnson's right there.
There was a runaway for a moment there with Bo Brady. All of a sudden, there's 4 drivers less than a second separation if you add in the 41 of Dallas Myhan.
Yeah, due to the fact that they still haven't gotten past all this traffic, there's still an opportunity for these drivers. As right now, Bo Brady finally able to get by. He's going to be starting to charge away. Kyle Johnson stuck on the inside, but that lap traffic cut away a second gap, now down to less than 3/10.
And less than 15 laps to go. Johnson's now clear of the lap traffic. Whitendorf trying to do the same. Next car would be Myhan to catch up to the 4 and the 8 to get by them. And that battle right there between Causey and Roth, we got to remember, not only are they getting out of the way of the race leaders, but they're battling for position. That's 13th place under contest.
Yeah, they're still battling hard. As right now, Dallas Myhan trying to figure out how to get by, as well as believe that's going to be Jake Hounshell. Oh no! It's Jake Hounshell! We say as no yellow comes out. Hounshell almost drifts up into Seth Harlson as yellow flag reigns. And now those cars that were waiting, Jeff Green, Tyler Riggs, their chance to come into the pits, get tires. It's your time now.
And again, it's kind of the try and figure out your priorities at Bristol. Make that Causey and Roth. They wanted to battle each other for 13th. At the same time, they had to get out of the way for those race leaders. And it's just so congested here at Bristol. I think that Roth thought he was going to be able to clear the 8, not only for position, but then be able to get out of the way of the 41. Unfortunately, he just wasn't clear.
Yeah, he really wasn't clear at all during that time. And oh my goodness, I mean, that wreck, it changes everything about this race. Bo Brady, under a lot of heavy fire there from Kyle Johnson, was going to try to get going again after getting by all that lap traffic. And now cars are going to reset, and this also is going to give the chance for drivers, they're going to be in the back half of the field, for them to get tires and possibly a chance to run down these machines. Jeff Green, Tyler Riggs, those are the two drivers I've got my eye out on because they still have a set to work with, as both of them now come into the pits. Oh, you also got Anthony Guenery, who's going to have tires to work with. There's a lot of traffic. I don't know if they have enough time.
But we got to remember too, this league does not do overtime green-white checkers. They run only the 150 laps. So, you know, there is the possibility this race ends under the caution, and we're going to be restarting with less than 10 to go. Now, with Causey and Roth both getting involved in that incident, the lucky dog position actually will go to Gerald Campbell. He'll be back on the lead lap in the 25 car.
Actually, just want to do a quick correction. I believe this league does have only one attempt at a green-white checkered if needed.
And it looks like we've got a driver having some connection problems. I wasn't sure if it was actually a driver DNFing or not. That's the 16 of Anthony Guenery. We do have a driver that has DNF'd, however. Caden Thur in the 57 has taken his car back to the garage area after spending extensive time on pit road trying to get that machine repaired. And that's a tough break. We talked about so many drivers making their first starts tonight. Caden Thur, for the first half of this race, spent most of it up inside of the top 7.
Yeah, Thor was looking quick, just had a couple of bumps with the wall, and that's ultimately what's going to be costing that 57 machine out. Back in 19th place is where he'll finish. Braden Koken was about to lose and possibly lose a chance to gain all these positions back, and he's going to be finding himself 16th place, and that's going to be the best that this driver can get. Only issue is he kind of needs Jason Halshell to be having more issues. Jason Halshell finally got up and running. Koken 7th place after being involved in the first wreck of the day. Incredible to see how well this 19 machine has gotten through the field with everyone being DNF.
Obviously, a lot of this is going to depend on what Gerald Campbell's able to do in the closing stages of this race, but we saw last week Jake Hounshell get involved in an incident and lose the points lead. It was only 30-point separation coming into tonight's race between Gerald Campbell and John Whitendorf. Whitendorf's going to be restarting up in the 3rd position. He's got a shot at this win as well, so keep your eyes on that 33 machine to maybe try and not only pick up a victory here tonight, but take the points lead into next week as well.
Single file restart here, Seth. It's not giving a lot of opportunities for these cars on the back half with those fresher tires. They got to make some bold moves here. Like we've seen just like we saw Gerald Campbell, as well as Blaine Atkin, you can gain a lot of positions if you can get the right jump on the car in front of you.
Well, it does open up the inside line at least to try and make forward progress, because you know the older tires are going to be trying the top side as Brady gets away. Johnson in 2nd. Looks like the battle right now is going to be for around the 4th position with Myhan, Hounshell, and Jeff Green.
Jeff Green going to be in 8th place. Tyler Riggs 9th place. Those are the cars to watch out for. As Bo Brady already has taken off, got a huge launch. Will we see a caution that changes everything as Bo Brady already up to a 3/10 lead and pulling away from the 88 car?
Jeff Green makes a pass on Shane Lake. Now Tyler Riggs battling with him. These are the drivers in the fresh tires trying to battle out for track position. As further up front, Dallas Myhan now on the back bumper of John Whitendorf for 3rd.
As these cars, they're running out of time. 4 laps, about to be 3 laps to go. Jeff Green on the inside with Tyler Riggs. They need to pass multiple cars a lap if they want a chance here. 3 laps to go. Bo Brady still trying to hold on, but Jeff Green and Tyler Riggs on the inside, they're coming with a head of steam.
Green's up to 5th. 4 more cars to pass as he's running about 2 to 3/10 faster each lap. Look at Myhan running on the bottom, maybe trying to play some defense against the fresher tires of Jeff Green, who's going to go up the middle here in 1 and 2.
3 wide. They were about to be a 3 wide for a second there. Jeff Green able to make the move. He can duck it down low, but Kyle Johnson, he ducks it. He sends it 3 wide. Jeff Green, as it's the white flag here for the Dirty Racing Podcast. White flag.
They made it back. They made it to the line. There's a red flag there, but we're still racing those checkers.
Bo Brady gets spun. He keeps it. Jeff Green in the lead. He's coming around the final bend. Jeff Green's going to get the win. Bo Brady gets spun. Whitendorf gets spun. Kyle Johnson's going to get 2nd. Who gets 3rd? It's going to be, oh my goodness, Jeff Green wins.
It was Jake Hounshell that got 3rd after complete and utter chaos, coming to the white flag and all the way to the checkers. But the fresh tires of Jeff Green from 8th to the win in the final few laps, and I think the 0-2 of Hounshell either he or Johnson, somebody's carrying the commitment cone on the front of their car.
I mean, it is wild to look back. Jake Hounshell was involved with a wreck that happened coming into we went into the white flag into turn 1. Tyler Riggs was caught up in that, but the 0-2 continued to chug on even after slamming the wall, splitting the two front runners. I mean, what a way to finish out Bristol. That certainly was a bash to see at the end.
It's one of those things where you've observed it, you've seen it go down, and yet your brain's trying to process, did that really just happen? I mean, that was such a chaotic half mile. Actually, a little bit more than a half mile. They were wrecking coming to the white flag from about the 6th position on back. The leader had already taken the white, so let's call it about maybe 0.6 of a mile or so of chaos.
I mean, Jeff Green just sent it. He just full sail. We've been trying to stay away from 3 wide action. I don't care anymore. I need this win type of ascend. And that was a beautiful pass by the 2 machine, and the cars behind him nowhere to go. But man, what a move, and what a absolute disaster for some of the other cars behind Jeff Green.
Well, as the 2000 Xfinity Series champion has burned it down at Bristol and will head to victory lane, we're going to try and go back and document everything that took place here on this final lap. We'll start here with the incident involving the 26th of Tyler Riggs. Now, again, this happened coming to the white flag, but the leader, Green, had already crossed the stripe.
Yeah, I mean, he already had crossed it, so there was no chance for a green-white checkered. But, I mean, oh, my goodness. They crossed the line. Tyler Riggs was trying to get by my hand and others. You just could not figure it out as the drivers just clipped and away they went.
Yeah, we had Harrelson involved. We had Campbell involved. Shane Lake got involved. Kind of a who's who of who was involved here. I mean, Campbell, the whole hood of his race car went up over the windshield. I'm not even sure if he was able to drive that thing back. There's Roth, there's Coking involved, Causey's involved. Probably easier to name the drivers that were not involved in an incident here on the final lap than those that were.
Yeah, I mean, Jeff Green, I don't think was involved in anything. I don't even know who else wasn't after that. Because it was just a modge-podge of so many cars trying to get through there. And it's still wild to go back and just rewatch those final 2 laps to see who was going to make it through there. Because really, you didn't know who was going to be clean and who wasn't.
There's Bo Brady. He spins it around. Whitendorf spins it around. The C's part for Jake Hounshell. And look, almost kind of like trying to do the 7-10 split. Hank Steinmiller runs in the back of Whitendorf. There's Campbell. Yeah, he raced it back around. The whole windshield was blocked by the hood on his 25, and somehow he made his way back around the racetrack that way.
I mean, if you can't see, you might as well just wall ride it. It's going to take you to the finish line at some point, as long as you stay against the wall. But yeah, man, what a end to this race that really was a way to send off. And a lot of these drivers, kind of not the way they wanted this race to end. Bo Brady felt so comfortable and so confident to at least get a top 3 finish. And that 20 machine finds himself all the way at the end of the field, all the way back to 8th place for Bo Brady, and just wild for all these drivers. We're getting machines ready here for interviews. I mean, whoo!
This is on board with Jeff Green on that final lap here, just to see what he saw. I mean, what a move.
I mean, there really isn't much else you can do in that move except for just send it. You've got the tires to stick on the bottom groove way better than the other drivers can. So you have the ability to send it and make that pass, and it worked out great for the 2 machine.
Here's the finishing results here. This is how they all crossed the line after the chaos. Green with the win, Johnson in second. I mean, this is Kyle Johnson, who didn't get to lay down a qualifying lap again due to connection issues. Jake Hounshell, who got involved in a wreck back on lap 2. He's going to finish third. Harrelson in fourth. Myhand, our in-race reporter, there in fifth. Whitendorf, he was trying to close up the points gap between himself and Gerald Campbell, but he'll finish sixth to Campbell's ninth. Steinmiller rode at the back most of the day, gets seventh. Brady there in eighth, had a shot for the win, and Jonathan Leach going to finish the top 10. I mean, after everything we saw in the first half of this race, I think it's pretty safe to say that there's about 5 or 6 drivers up here in the top 10 we wouldn't have had listed there.
Yeah, I mean, it's still crazy. I mean, we had so many drivers that were involved with wrecks at the start of this race and throughout the race were still up there and had fabulous runs for themselves. As I believe some drivers are getting ready for interviews. We're seeing if we can get Jeff Green for an interview, but we do have our other two drivers here at the ready.
Let's see if we can get our third place finisher, Jake Hounshell. Hey Jake, it's Sam and Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios. You got us?
Guys, how's it going?
Well, man, I mean, I can hear it in your voice. Just same with us. Just trying to take in what just happened there on those final couple of laps there. But man, I mean, you started out this race getting involved in that wreck, but that thing was still running, and next thing you know, you're crossing the line in third. I mean, describe those 150 laps there.
Well, before all else, I just want to apologize to anybody who's watching my stream because I was less than a pleasure to listen to, for sure. There was just, there was curse words here, and yeah, it was bad. It was a horrible night, really.
Well, I mean, Jake, you still are able to bring it home with a solid outing of third place, but, you know, we were noticing you up there towards the front, and we were kind of wondering on the times that you came down pit road to get damage repaired in the early stages, if you had actually taken on tires, especially around the midway point. Had you used up a set at that point, or were you still kind of holding on to them for later on?
I didn't actually. I was just trying to fix my damage. I had, I think, almost 3 minutes of damage to repair, and I got it down to 1, but I didn't use any tires until one of the last pit stop that I made, and it ended up being a good call, but before that pit stop, it was tough because I was in second, I think, and I got passed by pretty much everybody on the track. So they had a caution come out late, and I was very, very fortunate. I guess if you're going to be lucky and get knocked around as much as I did, then it's still it's still a win. You put in the win column.
Completely. I mean, luck is kind of what was needed here today for the cars that were going to survive. Jake, I mean, this was a wild race for us to watch. It seemed like almost everyone was involved in something during this race. For you at the end there, I mean, they're coming through those last couple of corners and going through some cars to try to make it to the end. How was it from your point of view?
It was insane. I mean, I don't even know what to say. I think I got wrecked at least 3 times in the last 10 laps, and I still came across the line third. I just don't know how it happened. I need to go back and watch my own replay to see what happened, but it was crazy for sure. Luck definitely played a huge role. Strategy, there was no strategy tonight. It was just luck.
Well, obviously, early on in the season, we know, Jake, that if you hit some hardship, it really affects you in the point standings. You know, last week, not the run you were looking for at Richmond. How important to get back on the comeback trail to try and get up to the top of the stands again was a run like tonight to you?
It was really important. This is one of my best tracks, and I always want to show well here when I come here. And you know, being in the points hunt, it just meant that much more. And it was just so frustrating to get bounced around every time I looked up. There was something happening in front of me, and frustrating is just, it's not even the word for it. But I am just happy that a third place is what I got of it, and we'll move on.
Well, you survived here tonight. Podium finish at Bristol. Congratulations there, Jake. Sponsors, thank you. Shout outs. What have you got?
I actually want to do a special shout out to one of my friends. His name's Steve Sorrell. He contracted the COVID this week or a couple weeks ago, and he was doing really bad for a week or two, but he's starting to turn it around now. So hopefully he'll be out of the hospital in a day or two. So I'm thinking of him, Steve, get better. Your family misses you, and we all miss you too. And any of my other friends that are watching, thanks for watching, and thanks for you guys for putting on the broadcast. Thanks for G-Force Racing for showing the league. And yeah, let's move on.
As Jake Hounshell brings the battered machine home in the third position here tonight at the Last Great Coliseum. Congrats on a great run there, Jake. We look forward to seeing what you do next week in Las Vegas.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
And let's now get the second place finisher, Kyle Johnson. Hey, Kyle, it's Sam and Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios. You got us?
Yes, sir.
Wow. I mean, we saw an unbelievable race here tonight at Bristol, but a lot of it came down to being in the right place at the right time, and you had to do it from the back of the pack. You weren't able to lay down a qualifying lap. You started outside of the top 20, slowly, methodically worked your way up to the front, had a shot at the win here at the end. I mean, it kind of sounds like a storybook adventure. Was that what it was like for you out there inside that machine?
Well, I'm starting to think maybe, we could qualify next week, and it'll make it a little easier. But, it's damn near impossible to pass down low. So really getting lucky on the outside line, keeping the car in one piece for the end, and giving it hell at the end. And it was a little bit crazy 4 wide, and just trying to hold my line and make it through that.
We had
Pretty good night.
we had so many different scenarios here coming into this race. Obviously, everybody fighting for the top side, so drivers forced to go to that middle and low line. We had the varying tire strategies, the fresh and the old tires. We had even lap traffic come into play at certain portions of this race as well. I mean, obviously, Bristol's one of those tracks where you absolutely have to keep your wits about you every single lap. What was the main difficulty you were dealing with here tonight?
I would definitely say just trying to hold that top, not letting anybody get up above you. And I pretty much split these races into 3 segments because I run hard in the beginning and always use my tires up. So I'm always one of the first guys to get tires. So trying to get good strategy and all that, and being there at the end.
Yeah, I mean, Kyle, we see that you have the pace to be up front. Crazy end to this race. Going into next week, though, we've seen you for the last couple of weeks having issues with qualifying. Do you feel like qualifying really matters for you, or is it more of just making sure you're there at the end for yourself?
Oh, no, 100% matters. I mean, you got Blaine, Chris, all these guys are really fast, and it's hard enough to get by them as it is. So putting yourself way back there and having to try to pass some fast guys is really difficult. So it's definitely something I got to get figured out.
Well, Kyle, great run for you tonight. Second place finish, your best finish of the season so far. Great to see you run up there at the front, and we look forward to seeing what you do next week, carrying this momentum into Las Vegas. But we're now going to turn the microphone over to let you do some shout-outs.
I'd like to thank you guys for running this. Chris, he's a good friend of mine. Bo Brady, we run together every week. I feel bad for him. That sucked at the end, but that's about it. Really appreciate it.
Well, that's Kyle Johnson, P2, here tonight at the world's fastest half mile. Congratulations on a great run there, Kyle.
Thanks, guys.
And we're trying to see if we can get our race winner, Jeff Green, in here. We'll give a couple more minutes here to see if he can be able to get in here for an interview. But I mean, well, I guess, Sam, these drivers can now kind of breathe a little bit of a sigh of relief, those that don't necessarily like the unpredictability of the short tracks, because now we can shift gears and start to get our mile-and-a-half programs back together, because next week it's Las Vegas.
Yeah, Las Vegas is going to be interesting to see how these drivers can react. We've gone to now 2 short tracks in a row, and, we saw 2 very different races, of one going really long green flag run to here today at Bristol, as just being kind of a wild factor. Not really sure where drivers are going to be finishing up at the end. And Las Vegas going to be giving these drivers a little bit more space to work with, a lot more speed now for these drivers to be around. And we'll see if they can handle Las Vegas.
And as I stated as well, earlier on in the season, a good finish can gain you anywhere 7, 8, 9, sometimes double-digit spots in the stands. A bad run can drop you that same number of spots in the standings. And with this only being the 4th race, it's going to be interesting to see how this positions a number of our top finishers in the points going into next week. You got Jeff Green winning this race. He was 9th in points, so he may be able to move up into the top 5. Kyle Johnson, he was 13th, so he may be up inside of the top 10. Jay Counshell, obviously, as we said, on the comeback trail. Had the points lead last week, lost it, trying to get it back again. Where does this put him inside of the top 5? We'll have to wait and see. I mean, the point standings are still really close because of the fact we've only got 3 races under our belt, now 4 with the completion of this one. So it'll be interesting to see what the change of standings are going to be going into a track like Las Vegas, where everybody may not necessarily be up each other's gearbox as they have been the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, especially with some of the drivers that are going to be looking for better days. I mean, you've got some drivers like Blaine Atkin, who was one of the favorites with the way that he was running in the first quarter of this race, then involved in a wreck that took him out, and he really never had a chance to rebound from it. And other drivers on the back half that were caught up in wrecks. I mean, we never really got to see what Austin Edwards had. Fast practice, was pretty quick during qualifying. It was taken out so quick in the beginning parts of this race. Never really got to see what that 18 car has. We'll see what he has in the next couple of weeks. And a lot of other drivers that were up front and lucked out and we were able to survive. How can they carry this momentum forward?
Well, what a crazy race and what a crazy finish here tonight at Bristol Motor Speedway. It's the last great Coliseum, and we saw a battle. We maybe even saw a 150-lap war, but Jeff Green is your winner. here this evening at Bristol Motor Speedway, taking the checkers in the Sports Shift Media Thanksgiving Bash. Going to be something extra for him to be thankful for here in 2020. And a great one here tonight at Bristol Motor Speedway as we shift gears for Las Vegas next week for the Belly Up Sports 100. But Sam, crazy one here tonight. Appreciate you joining me in the booth for it.
It certainly was crazy, and it's always a pleasure to be up in the booth with you, Seth.
Thanks to everybody that tuned in here this evening. We hope that you guys enjoyed our coverage here of the G-Force Grand National Series. It's our final broadcast up to Thanksgiving. We're off tomorrow night, so want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Hope that you guys have some great times with friends and family, and we'll be back at it. I believe our next broadcast is going to be on, I want to say next Sunday night. If not, it's going to be Monday night for the Slipstream, but next week's when we will be resuming broadcasting. So everybody enjoy your holiday here, and happy Thanksgiving to you as well, Sam.
Yeah, it's always, can't wait to eat some turkey, have some mashed potatoes, and what other fixings we got.
And don't forget, take a nap, a nice long nap.
Oh, yeah.
Hope everybody enjoys the rest of their evening here. For Samuel Dyer, I'm Seth Cole. Thanks for tuning in to another broadcast courtesy of the Flatout Racing Network.